Hello everyone, welcome to Monash College Diploma's virtual classroom session. My name is Glenn Jennings, I'm the Director of Diplomas here at Monash, and it's wonderful to have so many of you joining us today to experience what the virtual classroom is like. I hope that you and your family are all well and happy at the moment. I know COVID-19 has been a very tough year for everyone. Good news in Melbourne is that we've now had 39 days straight without any new cases, and I hope that's a situation that's the same for you and your family. So this year has been a challenge for everyone. At Monash College, we moved to the virtual classroom to make sure that students weren't interrupted in their preparations for entering Monash University. So what we did was we made sure that we had the same teachers, the same curriculum, the same assessments, and the same supports, all delivered through the virtual classroom to make sure that students could stay on track and achieve their goals. In fact, we've put in place even some extra supports to help with individualizing learning and giving the students the type of support that they need when they're in a remote location. So today, what we're going to do is have a session by one of our teachers, Morgan Ferruccio, who'll show you what IT and engineering are like through the virtual classroom. And we'll also have a session from one of our students, Cevicha Sim, who'll explain to you what life is like as a student studying in the virtual classroom. Here at Monash, we'll make sure that you've got all of the academic supports that you require, but we'll also make sure that even in a virtual environment, you've got counselling support, other clubs and society support, student activities, and the whole well-rounded package for education. Our one goal here at Monash College is to make sure that you have a good educational experience and that you achieve the outcomes that you're looking for. So without spending any more of your time on a general introduction, I'll just say over to Morgan Ferruccio now, who will talk to you about class. And from my perspective, I'd just like to welcome you to the virtual classroom and very much look forward in the future to seeing you on campus at Monash when everything is open again. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Glenn. Welcome, everybody. My name is Morgan Ferruccio. I'm glad to have you join us today for a sample class on IT and programming. I'm going to take you through the virtual classroom taster, and I'll show you how we use Zoom to teach our classes. You'll see a chat function on your screen. Please put any questions that you may have throughout the session, and we'll reply as best as we can. So we'll get straight into it. So welcome to the introduction to IT and programming in the virtual classroom at Monash College. Today we are going to first introduce me and what I do at Monash College, an introduction to programming as a concept. Then I'll go through a very small programming example. I'll go through the different kinds of things that programming can be used for. Then I'll have a Kahoot quiz just to make sure everybody is keeping track of what I'm saying. And finally, I'll conclude and then we'll hand it over to our student. Okay, so as Glenn mentioned, my name is Morgan Ferruccio. I'm a unit leader and teacher at Monash College. I teach a unit called Mobile Apps, where I teach students how to program apps for their mobile phone. You'll see the image on the right here. This is actually an app that my students made a few trimesters ago. So they used their phone to scan a QR code and then did various things with it. So that's the kind of stuff that I do at Monash College. Today, I'm going to talk about programming and give you an idea of what learning programming at Monash College using the virtual classroom might look like. Now, when you look at programming languages, it seems very scary and complicated. Certainly, this image on the right here looks very complicated, maybe a little bit scary as well. But programming is actually very similar to our spoken languages. So we've got words, we've got grammatical requirements, spelling requirements, and structural rules as well. And as long as we follow all of these rules, we will get a program that works. In the same way that if you follow these rules with our spoken languages, you can get your point across to the other person, okay? Now, the main difference is, of course, that we use programming languages to speak to computers instead of using it to speak to people, okay? Now, during my lectures, I often demonstrate code after explaining the theory behind it. I'm going to do the same thing for you right now. So I'm going to go through a very simple example where I'll display a short phrase to the console. So I'll swap over to my code here. And you can see on this screen, we have two halves to it. We have the code, which I'm going to start typing on the left, and we have the output, which is going to be on the right-hand side of the screen. Okay, so I'm going to start by typing in my code, and then we'll see how it works. Okay, so I've written my phrase on the left-hand side here. I'm going to press run, and that will print the code onto the other side in the output area. Okay, now I'll just explain how this piece of code works to give you a bit of an idea. So as I said, it's got rules, and I'm following a specific set of rules here to print this out. Basically, the way that programming works is it focuses on the idea of objects and their behaviors, okay? So this object here is known as the console, and the console has a number of behaviors. As an example, hopefully you can see my drink bottle here. My drink bottle has a number of behaviors as well. I could click on my button to open up the lid to take a drink. I could unscrew the lid if I wanted to fill it with water. So in the same way that my drink bottle has some behaviors and some actions that I can do with it, so does all of our objects in programming. So our console here has an action called log. And this log is going to print something into the console here on the right-hand side. Now, what is it going to print? It's going to print whatever I put inside the brackets here. Okay, and I've simply typed in the words hello world. So it takes my console and it logs the words hello world into my console. Okay, so this is a very basic example of programming. Hopefully that description didn't sound too intimidating. And if you do come and study at Monash College, you'll see a lot of stuff like this, and of course, increasing is in difficulty as we continue. Okay, but that's a very basic example of how a small piece of code actually works. All right. So back to the presentation. Now, you may have wondered, why hello world, right? Is there any significance there? There actually is. Hello world is a programming tradition, and everybody who starts programming will begin with this simple phrase. I started with this phrase as well, maybe not with the same language, I just typed it in now, but that's what I started with as well. You'll notice two images here. We've got Mark Zuckerberg on the top and Bill Gates on the bottom. And these two guys would have started with the same thing as well, right? So when they started programming, they would have started by printing hello world to somewhere. So we've just gone through the same tradition as some of the technology greats. The reason why I'm showing you this is because these two started in the same place that every other programmer starts. Anyone could create the next big thing. Okay, so an introduction to what programming is actually used for. Now, we've got a few images here and some of them are more obvious than others. Of course, thinking about video games or mobile phone apps, you would think, of course they're programmed. That makes sense. But there are some other things that you may not have fully considered. For example, vehicles, right? Our cars have a lot of programming within them. Things like the clock, maybe your Bluetooth speakers, right? A lot of vehicles have a lot of programming in them, okay? Another thing could be everyday appliances. You can see the microwave here. Now, of course, the microwave also has a clock, but it's also got some other buttons. Maybe you press a button here and you can defrost some chicken or something like that. All of those behaviors need to be programmed into the appliance first. So we can see that programming is not used just for, I guess, classic technologies such as games and apps, but also everyday things that you may not have considered. So that's programming. how does this all come into the virtual classroom? So the virtual classroom will run very similarly to this session right here, okay? Our classes typically at Monash College is split between lectures and then tutorials and lab classes. So lectures will typically focus more on delivery and teacher demonstrations. They might include interactivity as well, such as Kahoots or opportunities to ask questions, but it's mainly just the expert kind of giving knowledge, and you are ideally trying to understand it. When it comes to tutorials and labs, this gives the students the opportunity to complete theoretical or practical tasks, and we really try to make this as interactive as possible. We encourage students to turn their cameras on and speak up with their microphone so that we can best emulate a physical classroom. As Glenn said, we try and bring in the actual classroom into our virtual classroom, and to do that, we try and get as much interactivity as possible. We use a lot of technology as well to engage the students within the virtual classroom. We've got Zoom, which we're all currently connected to now. The Google Suite is used quite heavily. So Google Docs, Google Slides, and Google Sheets to allow for collaborative work. We use Echo 360 and Kaltura for video recordings and things like that. So maybe you're sick or whatever and you miss a class, then it's recorded and put up online so you can watch it and catch up. We also use other tools such as Kahoot, which allows us to interactively test knowledge of students. Okay, I guess the more important thing here is that programming has actually allowed life to continue as normal during a global pandemic. Right? Without programming, none of this would exist. So programming is extremely important. So speaking of Kahoot, I've actually prepared a short Kahoot for today, and hopefully that's a little bit of fun here. So I'm going to go ahead and open this up. Okay, so this is my little Kahoot. The way that the Kahoot works is you can all access it by visiting the following URL, so www.kahoot.it. Or if you've already used Kahoot and you have the app, feel free to access it using that. Once you go onto that web page, you'll be prompted with a PIN. So please go ahead and type this PIN in so that you can access the Kahoot. I'll just give everybody a little bit of time to access that. You should be able to access it on any device. So PC, tablets, smartphones, whatever you want to use, you should be able to access it. Okay. Now, just as we've got everybody kind of joining into this, I'd like to just explain how it works. So Kahoot is a short quiz. Okay, so I've prepared some questions for you and their corresponding correct answers. So you'll read the question, or I'll read the question out. You'll read the answers and try and pick the correct answer. Now, you get points based on correct answers, but also how quickly you choose the correct answer. So if you choose the correct answer a little bit quicker than someone else, you'll get a little bit more points than they do. Okay, and then at the end we can see a leaderboard. All right. So I'll just give everybody a little bit more time to connect to this. Once again, www.kahoot.it, and put in that PIN there to access the Kahoot. Okay, I'll start counting down from 5 and then we'll begin. So 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right, let's get started. So we've got 3 questions here. Question number 1, what is Hello World? Okay, very good. So it's a programming tradition. As I mentioned, all the technology greats, Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, anyone else you can think of, they probably started with something similar. I started with the same thing when I started learning programming as well. Okay, great. Next question. What can programming be used for? Okay, very good. A bit of a trick question. All of them are correct. But once again, there are some things that we may not have expected, like our microwave oven or our vehicles. But all of these things include programming. Last question. How can you ensure you get the most out of the virtual classroom? Okay, great. So making sure that we're speaking up and trying to engage with the class, but also turning our cameras on so we can see each other and engage as we normally would in a face-to-face classroom. Okay, so these are the final scores. Well done to our top 3. Okay, so back to the presentation. So hopefully that was a little bit of fun. That's something that I try to bring into my classes as well, to help the students understand the content in a fun and engaging way. So in conclusion, programming is not that scary. I hope you guys agree. It's similar to our spoken languages. Programming is the foundation of our modern technology, and it allows us to run the virtual classrooms as normal during a pandemic. One thing that I'll leave you with is we're living in a digital age where technology is an essential part of our lives, and learning how to program is a great first step to understanding the technology that you use every day. Okay. Now, that's it from me. Now we will hear from cevicha, who is going to talk about her experience while studying in the virtual classroom.
Hello, everyone. My name is cevicha. I'm from Cambodia, and I'm completing my Diploma of Business in the Monash College virtual classroom. I want to share with you my experience studying in the virtual classroom, including completing a management group assignment, becoming a student leader, and taking part in the virtual clubs and societies. There are many enjoyable aspects of the virtual classroom. I really like the technology, such as the share screen on Zoom and the digital whiteboard. This really helps us understand topics much better. We also use a learning management system called Moodle to access all of the learning materials for each of our subjects. It contains videos, readings, and lecture slides. As a student, it is very useful for me because I have access to it all the time. Furthermore, teachers are very flexible in using their skills to engage and interact with us, as well as to test me on whether or not I understand the topic. In the virtual classroom, all of my teachers make sure that every student has the chance to interact with one another using breakout rooms. Another thing that I liked about my teachers during my online classes was how they put our interests first by asking students if they have any issues so that they can arrange a meeting to help. One of my favorite assessments was my management group assignment, which involved giving a recommendation for a management problem. There was a written component, and my group presented to the whole class. To collaborate, we met up on Zoom 3 times a week to divide our responsibilities and help each other with the work. We like to have our videos on in order to have a closer connection with each other. We also practice our presentation in front of each other in Zoom to ensure the quality of our presentation was high. We had a lot of fun along the way. This assessment taught me how to communicate with others and work well in a team. I also became a student leader, which involved leading clubs and societies, such as the cultural exchange. It was teamwork with 4 people, including me, meeting up every night for the whole week to prepare our slides through Zoom. We used Google Slides to make our presentation, which made things easier as we can check each other's work. We made decisions as a team, which helped me develop friendships and feel connected to my classmates. Since becoming a student leader, I've noticed my confidence grow. I've developed skills in leadership, and I've learned how to solve conflict. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoy studying in the virtual classroom with Monash College as much as I did.
Thanks, Cevicha, for sharing your experience with us. It's great to hear that you've been enjoying your time at Monash College and have found the virtual classroom fun and engaging. Now, I just wanted to quickly tell you about the various support services that we have access to at Monash College. Our commitment is to support you to achieve your best, and this doesn't change regardless of whether we're online through the virtual classroom or face to face. Even while you're studying online from home in your home country, you'll still have access to the support services available at Monash College to help you along the way. So we have a friendly and dedicated student engagement and student services team who organize a range of clubs and societies for you to join to learn new skills and meet students from all around the world. Some of these clubs that they offer are things like music clubs, cooking clubs, games clubs, and a lot more. We also have learning and career advisors who you'll be able to contact to make sure you're on the right path to Monash University. They can help you with your everyday study and can help you transition smoothly into the university. To achieve your best at Monash College, you need to feel supported in all areas of your life. That's why your health and well-being is a priority at Monash College. If you have any problems or concerns, our counsellors offer free, confidential counselling to help you with your personal, academic, and emotional challenges. And of course, the teachers are wonderful and dedicated to helping you achieve your best, if I do say so myself. Thank you for joining. We hope this has given you a better understanding of what studying in the virtual classroom is like at Monash College. If you'd like some more information, feel free to scan the QR code to visit our website, which has information on the virtual classroom, frequently asked questions, and student testimonials. If you have any questions, send them to marketing@monashcollege.edu.au, as you can see. And you'll receive an answer as soon as possible. Also, please follow us on all our social channels to see what activities you may be able to get involved in while at Monash College. Thank you for joining. We hope to see you soon in the virtual classroom at Monash College. And as Melbourne now begins to open up again, we hope to see you face to face very soon as well.